All right, you beautiful bastions of freedom, it's time. We have ourselves a new SIG video drop. Guys, there's a lot going on in this one. I'm going to need to hear what you guys think right down there in the comments field. And of course, as you get in here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. You alone can make gun controllers cry every time you see them by doing those few things, because the algorithm is, again, once putting its thumb right on it. So as you get in here, guys, make sure you hit that audio video. Let me make sure it is all working for you guys. It looks good on my end, but we are going to get into a video that SIG just released around the P320, and it's something that I think is really, really important. And before I pull it up, if you are living under a rock and you are not familiar, all the controversy that is going on right now on the internet about the SIG and the P320, all of that is one big body of and preponderance of observation of what's happening. Okay, as we get in here, I want to walk you through this excuse me, this video that they just dropped. This is a different tone than I expected. Honestly and truly, I did not expect them to do this. All right, looks like we got audio video. Notifications did not go out again, so make sure you hit that share button, because this is a big one, guys. Honestly, notifications all day have just been in the tank. But let me get into this. All right. So here's the big thing. SIG has been pretty combative in the past around this issue with the P320, or the perceived issue, or the non-issue, or the lawsuit issue, whatever you want to call it. And I want to put my cards fully on the table right now. I'm not affiliated with SIG. I'm not against SIG. I'm nothing. I am completely ambivalent to SIG. I have nothing to do with it. However, it's an issue that we have to get to the bottom of as a overall community, right? There's been a pretty much solid determination in the court of public opinion that something's wrong. So in order to fix that perception, more information needs to be gleaned, okay? That's it in a nutshell. It's my opinion. We already saw things constantly shifting back and forth, like the airmen in the military, that turns out there was actually more people there, and the story constantly changes. So before we get into a position where we absolutely know fact, we may need to wait for all the facts. I mean, honestly, we may need to wait for all the facts and the determinations, lawsuits, everything, all right? Now, what I'm going to show you here, this is a tone change, and that's why I wanted to do this video, even though, YouTube decides that it's not going to be sent out anywhere. The tone is the thing that probably made people more angry than anything else on this whole debacle as it popped off, okay? So remember the "it ends today" kind of thing? Well, the internet didn't take kindly to that. That's not how you talk to your customers. That's not how you talk to your fellow 2A advocates. It's not how you talk to anybody, right? That was the biggest mistake in PR in a while. However, this right here is something different. Because remember, I've always said in this entire debacle, more information needs to be had. The approach of, I'm going to say this and therefore to be true, is not going to work in the age of the internet. It's just not. Let me get into this actual video from SIG. This is from their YouTube channel. This is not mine. I want to show you what they're saying. This is an interesting approach that they took.
See an animation of what I'm getting ready to talk to you about, you can actually click on that. So let's talk about the 5 steps that have to happen to make this gun shoot. First is the obvious one. The trigger has to be pulled to the rear. Now, when the trigger is pulled to the rear, the captive safety lever moves up, right? So the trigger moves to the rear, the trigger bar moves forward, the captive safety lever, which is locked in place for the trigger bar, has to move upwards. The upward movement of that safety lever will then move the striker safety, which is step 3, the striker safety lever, up and out of the way. That striker safety lever prevents the striker from moving forward. If it's down, the striker will not move forward. It will not hit the primer. If it's up, because of a trigger pull, it will go forward. The next step, obviously, is the sear has to move down. So as all that's happening, you get to that last part of the trigger pull, you keep pulling the trigger, the sear drops down, and since that's attached to the striker, the last step, the final step, step 5, is releasing the striker to fire the gun. And those 5 steps are absolutely necessary to make this gun shoot, and they have to happen. All
right. This is the really interesting part about this. Remember how I told you there's a tone shift in this video? This is more towards explanation versus accusations. That's a very interesting tone shift, because now they're walking down the road of explanation through the engineered design. And I want to be really clear in this video before it goes anywhere else, before it's replayed anywhere. I'm not suggesting nothing's wrong. I'm not suggesting something is wrong. What I'm suggesting is the tone shift through explanation is more beneficial than telling people what is and isn't true. Because in this case, you're actively seeing the engineered designs and the intended design of that object. Now, is that actually what's happening? I cannot tell you that. We have to wait for the rest of all this stuff to come out. But the tone that SiG is taking in this video is showing more information about their internal designs on how it's intended to work. Now, let's just say hypothetically that the engineering is perfect, nothing goes wrong. And at the end of the day, the gun only goes off when a trigger pull is initiated. Okay? If you know it's only intended execution at the end user, and you know the engineering is perfect, something in here in the middle could be wrong. You narrow it down. You narrow down the problem. What doesn't help is when we go this hard, this fast in the court of public opinion because we don't know all the facts yet. Again, I'm not on either team on this. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. On the front end, the engineering is probably why SiG is taking such a very strong stance on this. No one has talked to me from SiG. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. But the whole point is, if the engineering is this solid on their front end, and this is what they're seeing, and this is what they know internally, and this is what they know from a standpoint of reproduction, I can understand why they're like, there's no way something wrong is happening. Now, there's also on the other side a lot of smoke, a lot of issues that are reporting. Could they be fake? Maybe. Could they be real? Maybe. I don't know. Could there be a lawsuit that's put forward by the same lawyer for hundreds of different individuals, all based on the fact that it doesn't have a manual safety, not failure? Yeah, I know that part's true. There's so many different pieces to this. I'm not willing to burn the entire barn down because I want to, right? That's a very important piece to this. But the engineering revelations here would point, in my opinion, to why they're so firm and so confident in their PR messaging, in their deliverables, and the way that they're handling this from a perspective. From a public opinion perspective. That kind of checks out. Now, I don't think it's the right move, but it is interesting. Let's let it keep on going, because again, these animations are just more information pouring on top.
Cannot happen without the other, and it all starts with a trigger pull. Okay, let's break down each step. Let's get into the weeds a little bit here. Step one, pulling the trigger. That's the most important step. That's the one that gets everything going. Now, movement of the trigger, that trigger moving to the rear, it actually moves the trigger bar forward. And in a diagram in the video, you'll be able to see the trigger is in red and the trigger bar is in blue. The trigger moves to the rear, but the trigger bar moves forward. If you've ever heard of a balanced trigger system, that's exactly what it means. One part goes back and the other part goes forward. All the other competitions, their parts all go to the rear. Trigger bar, all that. This is actually moving in opposite directions. Trigger goes back, trigger bar goes forward. That's step number one. Let's move on to step number two. Okay, let's talk about the captive safety lever, step number two. This captive safety lever is unique in that it is kind of locked in place. There's a leg on the front and a leg on the back, and you can see that in the diagram. It's the red part, and the trigger bar is actually kind of wedged in between it. That means that trigger bar has to move for that captive safety lever to rotate up. And that's the only way it'll.
Okay, so I pause this really quickly because this is what's happening in this video. They are walking down the overview of steps 1 through 5, which are what they claim are necessary steps and are redundant safeties, back on back on back, and they have to happen in sequence. And then they're going into the individual steps, step 1 through 5. If you want to watch this video, it's linked in the description box below. But what's really intriguing about this is they're walking through all the ins and outs of what has to happen, which gives you an idea into their mindset on this. Honestly, props to them for putting out the actual engineering designs and explaining what their product is supposed and engineered to do. And now you got to figure out the other end of that equation, because if the engineering is this solid and this sound, 5 different redundant steps, all that are necessary on an engineering perspective, that looks like, that seems like a pretty good idea. That seems like a pretty good sequential order. But the execution is the problem, the engineering versus the execution. That's what this is. It's narrowing it down step by step by step. Again, I'm not going to burn them down until there is 1000% court of public opinion confirmed by court actual documents and actual reports and repeatability. That's my whole point. And the biggest caution that I could possibly offer, and I'll just say this out loud because I'm a creator and I can speak as part of the peer creator element in YouTube, in community. I think that jumping the gun directly to the end result is going to be a net negative for the overall two-way space and everyone involved. Personally, because we don't know all the things that we need to know. We just simply don't. And for us to go as hard as I've seen, it has potential to backfire and hurt us all collectively and our industry and our space more than is necessary. If there's a problem, fix the damn problem. But anyway, let's keep on going. That's my only word of caution. And if you went this hard on a video on reports, I would need to see you go that hard on a video on the other side explaining that some information has changed. I think that's a responsibility of our position. Anyway, let's keep on going.
Move because it's completely captured. So that takes us to step 3. All right. Third step. Now you've heard me mention striker safety lever. On the website, it'll say striker safety lock. I'm talking about the same part here. It's basically the lever that keeps the striker in place and does not let it go forward. So let's recap. We've pulled the trigger. The trigger bar has gone forward. The captive safety lever has rotated up. And now we're on to step 3, and that is the striker safety lock, and it's moving up. As that captive safety lever moves up, so does the striker safety lever. Once that striker safety lever is all the way in the up position, it has freed the path for the striker to move forward. And it has to happen for that striker to move forward and hit the primed cartridge. So let's move on to the 4th step. The sear. The sear is an important part. It actually holds the striker in.
All right, again, as you're seeing all the different pieces and colors here, and I'm doing this video because it's an important piece to our community. All these different colored pieces are all the redundant steps that you need to get done in order, according to SiG, for the gun to fire. Again, I'm not saying it is or isn't happening. But what I'm saying is this video, in the absence of absolute confirmation and repeatability, this is very good information to put out. I'm not saying yay or nay, but what I am saying is this is good. In the absence of information, people are going to make up their own. Walking through the actual designs and the patents on what's happening is a good addition to the overall conversation, in my opinion. You guys can let me know in the chat, because I think that's an important piece to this. In fact, Super Chat from Romulus says, Anna Kasparian of the TYT, the Young Turks, said she has a new appreciation for the Second Amendment. We're winning, even among progressives. Yes, absolutely. And I just saw another chat I got to hit on real quick. Yes, absolutely, we are winning. But you know what's going to make us win is everyone on our side doesn't go, oh, we're winning, thank God, we can go to sleep. No, you pour on right now. You literally pour the pedal to the metal, or push the pedal to the metal. All right, this is another chat right here. Just for the lulz, this is a really good statement. I appreciate this a lot. Too little, years too late. I never buy anything SiG related. Been that way for years now and will never change, even though they somehow miraculously turn out to be right. It doesn't wipe out the past. That's fair. I'm not encouraging you to do one or the other. In fact, I agree. This should have been step 1 of the entire information dump. This should have been right when someone said something or some sort of issue popped up. This information should have been available, or before. I completely agree. And I'm not advocating for or against. You guys do what makes you comfortable. This is a very serious thing. But what I am saying is this is a good piece of information to add to the entire equation. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not making excuses, not saying anything's good, bad, or indifferent. However, this is an important piece. Let's keep on going and wrap these 5 steps out.
Place on the primary notch. Now, once all these other things have happened, the trigger bar, the trigger bar, the captive safety lever, the striker safety lock, all these things have happened. You keep pulling the trigger to the rear, and the sear will rotate downwards. The rotating of that sear will release the striker. So that has to happen, obviously, to go to step 5, which is next. So the final step, the gun is almost there. This is where the rubber meets the road, folks. This is the striker being released and moving forward past the striker safety lock that has been moved out of the way because of the other 3 steps. And it's now moving forward to hit the primed cartridge. So again, all steps have to happen. They all have to happen in progress, and it all ends with step 5, and that's releasing the striker and the striker moving forward. So we've covered the 5 steps, but let's talk about some bonus safety material. So all
right, I don't need to go through the bonus safety material. You guys can watch the video, it's linked. The reason that I wanted to do this is I wanted to put the information out there so everyone can have a unbiased and completely objective good Lord, words just tried to come out of my mouth, they didn't. Objective interpretation to what is happening with this problem. Okay, I honestly would expect that everyone who lined up to burn it down to the ground real fast and real quick would also show you this exact same information. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to bring you the information as best I possibly can with all the receipts provided. That's what we've got at this one moment. So, guys, please send this out. Legitimately, notifications are not going out all day long. It is really, really mind-boggling. And the last thing, Yannick Stoner says Glock over SiG. That's your choice. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you have most confidence in and most faith in, go team, go. I want you guys to be comfortable, protected, safe, and trained. That's the whole reason I even cover these things. But this is an important part of the equation. And like I said, just to reiterate, I sincerely hope that everyone who lined up to burn SiG to the ground immediately at least shows you all pieces of information. I think that we owe that to you. But anyway, that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you tomorrow where hopefully the notifications might work. I'm Braden. See you later.